look, this figure's already been making me mad enough as it is. So, rather than waste your time and my time, I'm just gonna speed run through this before I get any angrier. So, there's a really nice scene later about Ditzy talking to the Wendigo and convincing him that she'll watch over him, which would be nice, but I feel like it could have been its own thing. When I get to the review, I'm going to point out my problems here, and maybe you can see why I think this. The next bits are about Ditzy and Pousson's going on and on about why Pousson's way is thinking that she should be right, while Ditzy offers a counter-argument, and quite frankly, I'm more on Ditzy's side here anyway, and it still feels wrong. Nobody ever talks to Luna about it, and when Luna shows up, oh, look at that, Luna shows up, whoa. And we introduced her to Alula, surprisingly. Oh, look, somebody who should have been mentioned frequently has popped up. And of course, since Alula says she likes it in Ponyville right in front of Pousson's realized she can't take Alula, which, again, I'm kind of surprised that somehow Pousson's didn't figure it out that Alula exists. Actually, that's another thing I want to bring up. Ice Heart wants to make a deal with Pousson's to talk more, and everybody goes home happy. It thus ends probably one of the worst episodes of this whole entire freaking show! No people, I did not like this episode one bit. Throughout the entire last chapter, I was this close to doing something I really didn't want to do. I was this close to just bringing out a comic book and just reading that for you instead. That's how much I hated this episode. It made me feel bad. I was feeling rotten the entire time reading this chapter because I love the series that much. I love talking about it. I like defending it from idiots out there who try to say how bad it is and all that. So when I get an episode like this from a writer who I know can do great, from a series that I know can do great things, it just really hurts. And I really, really don't feel like I want to complain about it. But I'm going to be fair to you guys and do what I always do and review it. So here's some of the good. I like Ditzy. It was nice seeing Ditzy use her kindness and motherly instincts to good use. I like the world building where we could see more of the world. A Russia analog was kind of nice. I enjoyed being there. I also like the discussion of how the elements could react to a Wendigo. I also kind of liked the use of Moscow, the song. And I liked the other varieties of ponies. I enjoyed it. I despised everything else, though. Where to begin? First off, I hate the Ring. I hate her stinking guts. I hate her characterization. I hate listening to her. I hate seeing her appear. I hate watching her. Every time she speaks, I just want Checker to show up in this universe and run that hag out of business. I want Kudos to pop up and begin to torture her. I want Red Eye to manipulate her so that way she could find herself dead. I hate this character that damn much. And this is not a fun kind of like with Checker or the other villains. Oh, no. This is she annoys me on every single possible goddamn level. I just want to punch her, is all. And what's worse, every scene she's in drags this fic down. It drags it so much. Do we really need an entire multi-paragraph description of how Plousons one time met with 3 ponies and had a description with her on how she felt that she valued things more often than they did. That led to her thinking, all based off a little story she was telling Ice Heart? No! We didn't really need that. We could have summed up with this. I saw 3 ponies. I saw them doing something. I disagreed. Boom! End of story. We did not need her to describe every single moment. It dragged it. Oh, and by the way, nice job on that Fire Ruby story, guys. I really liked it. Problem. It did nothing. I'm so glad I knew the history of the Fire Ruby. I was kind of hoping that maybe, just maybe, the Fire Ruby was connected to that mare, and the mare was the Wendigo's mate, and we could have enjoyed some connection, and maybe if the mother was related to Ice Heart, maybe that would have shown more dimension to Viscerine. But as it stands, no, it did not. It was useless, it was pointless, it was worthless, it just dragged the story out longer than it need to. The vault was another drag for me. This whole entire thing with the vault and the other ponies, it should have been its own story. Okay, it took me a while, it took me a lot of reflection, but I think I know my problem with the vault ponies. As I said, should have been their own thing. They should have been their own story, their own individual characters. If we had devoted an entire story dedicated to them to going into the vault and seeing how the ponies' lives were, I really wouldn't complain as much. If we got to see more of the ponies and their lives and their stories and how they lived, I really wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be as mad at this. And if we just focused on Ditzy becoming a negotiator and being nice, I wouldn't have minded that at all. We could have had Ditzy on one side, the vault ponies on the other. It would have been great. Because sadly, when we see Dinky, and I do love Ditzy and Dinky, but I'm reminded of somebody's complaint that I read in a review once. I think it might have been insert author here, that I originally disagreed with, but now it's kind of becoming true. I mean, I love Ditzy and all, but come on, guys, can we have one story with Ditzy where Dinky's not the focus? It seems like every time we get a Ditzy, before we get anything involving her, Dinky has to come in, and it feels like we don't have much of Ditzy's character to understand. And this is coming from a guy who loves Dinky. I love using her. I love Ditzy. We all know that. Ditzy reminds me of my mother, and I love her. But sometimes I wish we could do more with just Ditzy, and this story would have been a great opportunity for it. Just have Ditzy be in a flashback. Have Dinky be a little flashback for Ditzy. There, that would have been perfect. But then again, I think the Lunaverse 6 shouldn't have been here. I'll get to that. About the Vault Ponies. I would have loved it if they had this. The Siberian one side, the Vault Ponies on the other. Because right now, it sounds horrifying to me. I know Poussin spent multiple paragraphs to try to explain her position, and I read them, and I'm sorry, but you can never convince me this is a good thing. You can never look at me and say, I'm confining all these ponies here with all these rules and all these limits, and I provide all of them, and this is a good thing. I'm sorry, but you could never convince me. You'll never tell me this is right. Because all I'm seeing is the wife who's being confined to her room and being told, oh, she's fine. She's provided everything, but she's injured. I'm seeing the husband who wants friends, but is being told he can't. I am seeing the little child who wants to go out there and live and have fun and adventures. And then this bitch of a mother says, no, you can't. You can't have friends. You can't have fun. You can't enjoy life. Do everything what I tell you. Don't have an opinion. That's what I'm seeing. I'll never see it as anything like that. Unless you want to write down in the comments and tell me that Raimi was right for confining Fluttershy like he did. Unless you want to write down in the comments and tell me that all the other times you ever see a story where the exact same thing happens, it's okay. Because, you know what I'm also saying? I'm saying The Prisoner. Yeah, that British old show. You bet I didn't know about that? I do. And that's what I'm saying here. But if they were their own thing, if we actually saw life within the vault, and we actually saw more ponies in the vault, if we actually saw them interacting, I probably wouldn't be as mad. But as it stands, I'm seeing a bunch of Stefford smilers. I'm seeing these people look at me straight in the face and go, oh sure, this woman is mentally abusing me and psychologically abusing me and forcing me to believe things that I wouldn't normally believe, but she's a good person. I love her. I need her. I can't imagine life without her. And all I'm seeing is the smacks across their faces. I'm seeing the emotional dependence. Any psychologist could tell you how wrong this is. This is pure emotional, psychological dependence. And it's just going to get worse. It's going to get harder for this kid to actually even interact. I'm surprised this kid couldn't even interact with Alula. And that is another thing. The fight string keeps going on and on about how I gotta find these rare ponies. Oh look, these rare mixed breeds. I'm sorry, but what? How did you miss Alula? How did you not hear stories of her? And according to a previous story, Alula's not alone. She exists. There were others like her. You're telling me you couldn't find them? And this is a unicorn mixed breed. So what? Just go to the cakes. They got twins. None of this really makes any sense when you step back and think about it. None of this works unless you want to sit back and look at the emotional abused woman over there and go, yeah, sure, her husband is confining her to her house and not allowing her to do anything and is providing everything she wants, but hey, she's safe. Oh, sure, she'll become an emotional wreck and probably never trust anybody outside of the world and is probably going to have the worst life imaginable, but hey, she's provided, she's protected. Fuck that noise! Another thing I don't like about this story is that the entire cast is here. Now, while I love the entire cast, do we really need them? I mean, yeah, I know, the elements and all that. That good they did. Look, the show knew what it was doing when it didn't have the main six together every time. It actually by actually pairing these people off, it allowed us to explore them. We don't need the entire group together every single time. Any more than we need Luna always there with, oh yeah, woohoo, Luna again, yay. Any more than we need anybody else doing all this all the time. We can allow these characters to thrive on their own. Was Carrot Top in this story? Oh yeah, she was. The background pony. But no, we saw them. We apparently needed them. No, we didn't. And Vice Rain just continued to ruin that. Because I felt like... What was going on here? Was that the writing was looking at me straight in the face. With a serious face. And telling me, oh, yeah. That person who is emotionally abusing these people and turning them emotionally dependent, you're supposed to agree with them. And I'm sorry, but I have seen way too many shows and people being abused like this. I've heard too many horror stories like this where people have been emotionally abused just like what Vice Rain's doing, and it's always turned out bad. And I've never agreed with it. I've never thought this was a good idea. But maybe that's just it. Vice Rain ticks me off because I thought with the whole Grand Galley Gala thing, we could move on from these nobles and these machinations of these people, and we could get onto some adventure stories. You know, maybe find some monsters in a cave. You know, the Hero of Votan did this beautifully. The Hero of Votan did this wonderfully. There was a mystery, there was a suspense, there was action, there was a monster, there was all the things I liked. Not this. Now, this does not mean I'm not going to enjoy the prelude to Golden Horseshoes when I get to it. But the rest, I just know. Other people can like it. Other people are free to love it. But you know what I always say. If I can come up with about 1,001 reasons for me hating this, you guys can probably come up with 1,001 reasons for liking it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you not to like something. I'm not going to sit here to tell you to like something. All I'm offering is my opinion and how I feel about the product. This is a show in a fic written, and I'm here to just say why I personally dislike it. You may disagree with me, you may not. That's the whole point, and quite frankly, I don't care if you do or don't. No skin off my back, it's your opinion. It's something you think of, you're a person. Go ahead. Like it, hate it. But for me, it's just not working. Now, don't get wrong, this is not making me so depressed I'm never doing another Lunaverse story. This is my bag. This is something I enjoy the most. But this is making me think I should just read Ponyfinder for a bit and get my mind off of this episode.